Hello and welcome to Hyper Live. And today our special guest, Ben Hogan, very warm welcome. And we're going to be exploring the topic, is this the golden age for technologists? So I'm looking forward to getting into this one. And co-host Daniel, of course, as well. But Ben, yeah, do you want to start by giving us a bit of an intro and background?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be on. I've known Daniel for years, and he's finally managed to get me onto the podcast. So I hear it's been going for a while. So this is quite an honor, and really excited to talk today. Yeah, so got quite the backstory, but I'll leave that for later. But yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And Daniel.
Yeah, hey everyone, it's Daniel, so founder of Great CTO and also work with HYPR, and I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, losing count now. Cool. Well, maybe we'll start, Ben, with just a bit of your background. So tell us about your company.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty wild ride the last couple of years for everyone, I think. And I came into this Gen AI sort of revolution 2.5 years ago. And before that, I was the Agile guy, right? So my nickname is still Agile Ben on the internet, has been for like a decade. I haven't even got around to changing my Twitter handle yet. So that's how you'll find me. But yeah, so I'd been doing a decade of teaching people Agile and all that stuff. And that ended up in OKRs, which I think we're talking about next episode. And this kind of education kind of career had going very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then along comes ChatGPT, and it just really, like, I took 90 degrees. Like I drifted away from technology for years, and it just sucked me back in. And so I founded Freshwater Futures as my little Melbourne Australian Gen AI studio to explore and apply all that great technology. And it's been an absolute joy. Like, I've never been passionate about my work as I have been the last 2 years. Like, you look at me in the before and after, and I was like, yeah, Agile's cool. But after 20 years of saying that, you're like, it's kind of cool. But the Gen AI stuff has been a breath of fresh air. Like, learning every day, building stuff. Yeah, I feel like
you've gone from Agile to OKRs to AI, so you're still pretty Agile, Ben.
Yeah, exactly. What does that tell you about my cognitive deficiencies? Yeah.
And so what's kind of getting you excited about it now? Like, what is it that's pulling? Because you're not the only person who's sort of said that they've been pulled back into technology because of it. But what is it about this?
Yeah, it's such an amazing new technology. And I saw an article a year ago, whenever it was, from talking about Sergey Brin. He'd gone back to Google, and he turned up, this billionaire, and everyone's like, what's he doing? He's like, I'm back, everyone. This is such an exciting moment in history. Like, these new language models are so interesting to like mess around with and to build and to apply to different things, that he's back in the game. And I felt the same. I felt like I hadn't seriously written much code for over 10 years. And I just find this sort of joy of building and inventing and trying stuff out. I guess because every week for a while there, we would get a new capability. It was like being given Christmas every week. You get a new toy or a new tool or a new model or a new vendor or a new startup. It was just new, like all this new stuff coming at you like a fire hose. And I guess that was overwhelming, but it was also liberating. I was allowed to be new at something again, like a complete beginner. And there's nothing like being a beginner when you're my age. That's so much fun. So I guess I recaptured my youthful enthusiasm for trying something I didn't know much about.
Yeah, it's pretty
cool.
Yeah,
we've heard that story like quite a few times, talking, executives who have gone back and, the AI coding tools have brought them back into coding. Yeah.
So what is the citizen engineering revolution look like? What are people doing with the new tools?
Yeah, like as Daniel said, like it seems it's never too late to have this moment of trying a new tool and getting an amazing result and sort of changing everything. And vibe coding, or citizen engineering is a fancy name for it, is this basically a non-technical person or even a technical person goes onto a tool, they type in a prompt, and it builds software for them. And the vibe coding is it's not thinking about what you've written so much in terms of the code, but thinking more about the outcome and looking at what it built and playing around with it. And so this started off as a bit of a meme, I think, like a joke. Kapathi, who ex-OpenAI, famous guy in my industry, he coined the phrase vibe coding in a tweet. And back then it felt like a little bit of a dig, like, I'm not looking at the code, I'm just going to let an LLM write it. And everyone was like, ha ha ha, that's really funny, what a great meme, as if you would write code without looking at the code. That's mad. And then literally now we're a year on from that tweet, and you reflect back at what models like GPT-5 High can do with code, and I'm like, you know what? It's probably a better code reviewer than I am now. The quality of the code it's producing is definitely better than I can write. I'm not a brilliant engineer. It's probably not as good as Google engineers can write. I think if you're an expert engineer, you're probably going to look down on vibe coding. But for me, I had like a decade of coding beforehand, enough to know what bad looked like. And I feel like it's that perfect mix of a little bit technical and also not so concerned about like perfect, which has been a real win. Yeah, so
It's a really interesting contrast because as some of the viewers will know, Gareth and I have worked on the assisted to agentic course, and so we're often looking at it through the eyes of engineers using these tools. But you're describing that broader lens of people from different walks of life using these tools. And so from an engineer, we look at it and say vibe coding, how could we ever not look at the code that was produced? We've got to do that in some shape or form. But you're describing something where it goes beyond that.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest experience we had was I was working with a client on a prototyping project over 3 months. And so in 12 weeks, we built 5 complete prototypes. And every 3 weeks, the level of sophistication would go up, right? So in week 2, our designer, great designer, hasn't really written much code before in their life, got onto a tool called Replit, and he was addicted. His personality was just perfect for just grinding a vibe coded app without knowing how to code. So he would look at the results and then just keep prompting and keep prompting. And I had to keep topping up my Replit account, hundreds of dollars, and it was totally worth it, right? Like a couple $100 of prompts later, and he had built the most amazing prototype of a really complicated insurance claims form. It was insane, right? So it had validation and all this systems and a database, and like it was something that a team would have built in 3 months, and he literally built it in 2 days. And then he shipped it and showed it to our stakeholders, and we got to demo it. And you're doing innovation programs. You do design thinking. You have ideation, then you have building, then you have validating, and in 2 days he'd gone from idea to a built prototype, which we could then show people. And because he's a designer, we were doing interviews. So we would get on Askable, which was a tool to recruit people, have them on a call the next day, show the prototype, and they would be clicking using this vibe coded tool in the interview, and we'd be showing them the software and getting live feedback, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. This must have taken you a long time to build. And we're like, yeah, sure. No engineers were harmed in the making of this software. It was throwaway software, and it was perfect for that part of the software development cycle. You've got this moment when actually quality is not the issue. Rapid feedback is what you want. And that's where we were at in this prototyping project. And we did that 5 times, like absolutely amazing in just 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's a great reflection, actually. And I think that's what we've struggled to do a little bit in the industry, especially in larger organizations that are attempting to build new products, and just the power of that, right? So just getting that fast feedback early, shaping the product direction, and then you can choose you might change the technology or certainly the coding style, but incredibly powerful, isn't it? And so, I mean, what happens like in that transition? Like, once you get past that prototype stage, you've kind of got confidence that you're heading in the right direction. You've done it way faster than you have before. What happens from there?
Yeah, this is the really interesting thing about, I think, Gen AI, is it's quite easy to rock up and show someone a very impressive demo like this prototype. 2 days, like in 2 days, I can knock something up and be like, hey, you have an AI product, you should buy this. But it's a lot more difficult to build something that clients like mine, financial services institutions, biggest retailers in Australia, very large real estate website, these kinds of people, right? They can't put stuff on the internet that doesn't work like 90+% of the time. And it turns out that LLMs are not like normal software. They have like a random number generator in the middle. And so your reliability engineering and your ability to evaluate the quality of the responses is key. And so I've actually just coming to the end in 2 weeks, fingers crossed, 2-3 weeks. I think I'll be at the end of a production implementation for a financial services client, and hopefully we can talk about that and show you links to that. But what's been so excited about the last 3 months is taking that prototype we built and turning it into a production version has involved learning everything about monitoring, operations, evaluations, testing these things. I built an entire evaluation platform like from scratch to help our subject matter experts score or grade the answers from the chatbot so that you could put it in front of a customer and know whether it's going to give you a correct answer or not. And I think that's the difference between kind of this early, wow, look what they can do, and there's this big journey to the other end of the chasm, which is we've got something we can prove or rely on that we could go to the board of directors and say, it's correct 90% of the time, and these are the kinds of failures we're going to get. Are you willing to put it live with this disclaimer? So you talk to legal, you talk to risk, you have data, you have to show that whole governance piece. I guess I've been learning all the parts about how to do that, and it's been quite a journey. So also exciting to see something you prototyped 3 months ago turn into something that real customers can get value from.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And if you were to give people some guidance, what are the scars from what you've learned, or that you could, the wisdom you can pass on to others?
Yeah, I guess challenges we've had have been varied and many. Question. I think one of the things that's interesting about moving into production is a lot of the tools and frameworks that you might have used to prototype are not allowed in, for example, a bank or a financial services institution. So, for example, we built a prototype in like 3 months of an entire agent platform. It could do faces, it could do voices, it could do chat, it could do knowledge base. But guess what? I just used whatever was on the internet. I connected to 10 different APIs. I had a knowledge base API, I had a voice API, I had a face API, APIs everywhere. It was great, right? I could pump out features. And that's kind of like the online SaaS kind of model, right? Like quick, make use of all this technology. You try selling that. I actually tried to sell that idea to a bank, and they were like, no, we can't use any of those technologies. None of them are approved. And so the governance gap from what APRA would be happy approving as a regulator in Australia is narrow for most banks, most financial services. And so I learned that in our case, we replatformed. We used AI to take a prototype and basically rebuild it from scratch in 3 months. So we took the entire prototype, we re-implemented it in .NET, which was an approved technology. We used entire Microsoft Azure stack. So I now know so much about Microsoft Azure, you wouldn't believe it. But we were able to, like, piece by piece, take something that was not approved and move it to an equivalent technology that was. And obviously you have to like learn how the vendor works, figure out how all that Microsoft technology works. But it's been great, right? We've been able to get every feature that we wanted replatformed in a new language, secure, like on the target architecture, secure, tested in a really short period of time. What feels like a team of like 4 engineers did years worth of work in 3 months, which is that's how the productivity feels like for me.
Yeah, that's interesting that you found the translation, or having to transform the code from one language to another. There's definitely some good stories of that coming out in there as well. I mean, if you had a choice, would you? I mean, maybe this is completely contextual, but Would you start with the technology that you're going to end with from a production perspective with a client, or do you think there's value in actually just being open-ended in terms of that first part of the process?
I think rapid feedback is really what I'm driving for in that first part, in the prototyping phase. I want to be able to show clients and test and users something in days that they can give feedback on. And so for that, it's like whatever's best of breed fastest. For example, Replit has released Agent 3 yesterday or this morning. Agent 3 is like even better at like building software from a prompt. So if that does what it says it does, we'll be able to literally prompt to demo in an hour or 3 hours. Like what took 2 days might take 3 hours now. That'd be pretty interesting. But no bank is going to deploy a Replit thing like anywhere near a customer, right? So I think because I've now got a production agent platform, I'm going to go out to market with that. It's not ready for public release, but yeah, you can DM me if you want private access. I can do a demo for you. But effectively, this production version becomes a platform that I can reuse for different clients. And because it's been through security testing, because it's on technology that's kind of approved, and it can be installed inside a bank's internal network, then it ticks all the compliance boxes. And I feel that's quite difficult to do shelf SaaS in a lot of cases. So I feel like I found a way through the rules to get something that's usable. Yeah. And you know what? If you'd asked me 20 years ago, would I have used .NET? I probably would have rolled my eyes at you and been like, oh, that's not my favorite language, or maybe I should be using functional programming. I would have been maybe a little bit dismissive of the technology stack. But guess what? Do I care as much what language it is anymore? I could rewrite it tomorrow. If I have the specification, that's all I need, right? I can pump out the code again if I have to.
That's really interesting, because I think
work.
I've noticed the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, you don't care as much because you're guiding rather than actually having to deal with all of the syntax and the
if I'd written all that .C# myself, I would be pissed off having to change it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the agent gets to read the code, so the agents are built for toil, aren't they?
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've tried context engineering recently, but the GPT-5 High with like 100 tokens of context carefully curated from your code base is doing amazing things for me the last couple of days. I've just been throwing more and more context at my model agents over time, and the last couple of days have been absolutely brilliant. Entire features, like first shot with half the code base in context. It's just, wow, I can't believe that worked kind of moments, just again and again.
So how are you feeding the context in?
Yeah, so at the moment I've been using, I use all the models, but Cursor's been really convenient as an IDE. Claude Code has been really good. Another agent framework. The latest Cursor has added some nice, interesting features, which are like custom commands, like custom prompts. So what you can do is you can pre-write a really interesting instruction. And the one that I find highest leverage, which you've probably heard before, is the specification writer agent that takes your requirement and then returns it into a specification. So it reads all the code, tries to figure out how your requirement is going to be translated into code, and it writes a document that describes the entire design. So these design files seem so magic to me, and breaking my coding into at least those 2 steps where we build the design, collaborating with the AI, and then we implement the design in a fresh context. And these techniques of only putting into the context what you need to, not overwhelming it with rubbish, that's been the secret to Claude Code and to Cursor. The way they do it is they spawn a sub-agent that loads up lots of tokens in the file and then only returns what needs to be returned to the parent agent. But it turns out the file system is a perfect memory store. So what you can do is very simply ask your agents to write stuff to a file and then destroy that agent and then start again, read up the files that are interesting, and then do the next step. And so if you think of your file system as a really convenient memory layer between agents, that's kind of what Claude Code's secret was, and also Cursor is now doing that as well. So that's really working well for me. Getting much better.
I'm going to I'm going to make a plug for the course right here, Gareth and Ben, because that exact approach is what we cover in 9 weeks of detail, led by the very excellent Don Smith. So Gareth, myself, Don, and others have been contributing to that course. It's these emergent practices that Ben has been describing, and you've described the broad strokes of it, and there's a lot of nuance and emerging patterns there that we go into as part of that course. So get in touch.
Yeah, I think all engineers should definitely do a course like that. We'll probably build on ourselves soon enough if we ever stop building production agents. Pretty busy right now, but those skills are really the future, aren't they, of engineering?
I think so, yeah. And what about, how far do you take some of the agentic workflows? I mean, for example, some of the people I've been talking to are running, they're constantly running kind of health checks on their code, or, they've got quite specific workflows for specific tasks, like you've described the planning versus the execution. But yeah, can you give us any more sort of tips around those sort of workflows?
One of the most high value ones I've found was a bit of a surprise. When we started using Claude Code, it had this integrate with GitHub option, and we're like, yeah, why not? And it installed a default code reviewer step in our pipeline. And so every time you'd push to PR, Claude Code would just sit in the background. It would write this 3-page kind of document on what it liked and didn't like about your code. And initially I thought, it's a bit of a toy. It's never going to be useful. Like, surely this isn't going to be helpful, but I just left it on, right? And so weeks go by, we start noticing that sometimes Claude has picked up really, really valuable pieces of, and we've just pasted those suggestions into another agent and told it to fix it. And since then, we're using Linear as a bug tracker for my current project. Since then, Linear has integrated Cursor directly into Linear. So you can go at Cursor, build this for me, and then at Claude, review this for me. And these agents are becoming seamlessly integrated into my workflow, meaning they're just like ambiently there. I just expect them to be running all the time. Like every time I do a commit, every time I push a deployment, there's just an AI there, like just in the loop, like helping me out. And it's so much so I don't even think about it now. It's just like, oh yeah, of course an AI will check my work for me. And, if it finds any bugs, I'll tell it to go and fix it. I don't know. It's a new world, isn't it?
Yeah. And what about, I mean, is there a danger there that people stop taking or paying as much attention? Like, how do you counter that from a quality perspective?
Oh, it's so dangerous. I cannot tell you. I actually merged a PR yesterday without looking at the code, thinking, I'm sure someone looked at the code. Like, like none of us would just vibe code into production, right? That would not happen. And then I was like, something's not working right. And I start looking at the code and I was like, it made my eyes bleed looking at the code. I was like, this is the worst code. What happened? And I stepped back and I looked at the PR I'd just merged. And I was like, oh, no human would have merged this PR. This is bad. And so I had to learn how to revert an entire pull request in Git, undo. I just ripped out all of that code and started again, like with a fresh eyes, realizing that, that we could have missed it, right? If it hadn't been for some bugs that had cropped up, that code may have stayed in there for months before we'd looked at it. So it's a real danger. I'm surprised that got through our quality practices.
It's like you've got the fast ball and it went past the batsman and it went past the keeper and then it went past the deep fieldsman and went for 4.
Yeah, so it totally be vigilant out there, kids.
Good advice. And we've been, I think the specification side is really great from getting that deterministic kind of view of you build something and you can kind of check back to the specification. And then it's not too bad at generating tests as well. I think, there is a danger of that, of course, as well. But I think you've really got to be very careful in terms of the tests if you are generating them. But you can kind of wrap a few deterministic checks, all of the normal deterministic tools that you have around development, static code analysis, and all the rest of it, I think it's still super valuable as well, right?
I've always been a process guy. I was extreme programming before I was agile, and I was OKRs for a while. And one thing that's been really amazing for me is realizing all that process kind of adherence I can push into the rules of my. One of my first experience of that was, I wonder if AIs are any good at writing OKRs. So I wrote my rules for writing a good key result into an agent, and I said, go for it. And it was better at writing OKRs than I was. I was like, oh, wow, I don't have to teach people how to write key results anymore because the AI follows the rules perfectly. And now I've baked in all my extreme programming passions into my agents.md, my, the instructions you give the agent, rules. Sorry, the cursor rules. And my rules say basically what I always used to tell teams, right? Like, do TDD, do the red bar, green bar refactor exercise, write good commit messages, check in frequently. It's like we used to spend years teaching this to humans, and now all they have to do is like take a chapter of one of the books and paste it in my rules and be like, do this. And right now, instruction following is like 50 to 60% of the time it'll follow the rules, because it sometimes gets overwhelmed with context. But even that is so good. Like when it does it, it writes the test first, it writes them well, it runs them, implements it, then it checks in the code. I look at what's written, I'm like, yes, I have confidence in this feature. I review the code, I can see the tests. When it doesn't do it, I can always just nudge it and be like, did you forget something? Yeah. And I think we'll see close to 100% adherence soon, right? We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to speculate about the future, what do the next 2 or 3 years look like? I mean, we've sort of seen this massive kind of acceleration in the last few years. Is it plateauing a bit, or is it just going to keep on going?
Yeah, I don't think we've quite run out of juice yet. Like it feels like there's still some juice left in the can in terms of large language models, at least.
Yeah.
And because of all the investment, I suspect we will also discover new techniques using all that money that we've thrown into the AI industry. So the bubble will pop from an investment point of view, and the venture capital will dry up. But there's been so much money invested to date that there's bound to be some more like magical innovations popping out of the industry over the next 5 years. So yeah, I think we can be confident that it's going to be a wild couple of years. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's just so many ways to like recombine everything that's been developed already, and you see that particularly on the agent and agentic frontiers. Even how agents take advantage of small language models and other things like that. So yeah, I think I agree with you that the funding will pop, but people will keep running with it.
So what do you think the industry looks like in a couple of years? There's obviously people will just continue to adopt these techniques. Are there any particular groups that you think are advantaged, like a senior, really experienced people have an advantage over junior, or do you think everybody has the same opportunity? What's your sort of feel in terms of experience?
Yeah, I've been sort of tracking that thread, and lots of research has come out in the last few months on the impact of AI on the industry. And you saw that sort of senior jobs versus junior jobs, and we're definitely seeing the junior jobs dropping out in the States in some of those surveys. So yeah, I'd be very, very interested to see how we support junior people into the industry now. To me, it feels like a golden age for people who are junior, because I kind of felt like I was junior in AI 2-3 years ago. Didn't really know Python, wouldn't know React if it poked me in the eye. And now I'm confidently shipping production apps using Python and React. And so if my experience is anything like a junior's experience, I have this sense of agency, of like a true belief in myself plus AI can achieve anything. I don't have this sense anymore that, oh, I'm junior, I can't do it. I think if you can embrace the idea that the world is your oyster, you can achieve anything with AI as your assistant, then even if the jobs don't materialize, as in there's no one giving you a job for your experience, then I think you've still got this path of leveraging the technology to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And, I think the prevalence of AI and just general business process will give lots of people opportunities to move more deeply into technology there as well. And I think also, creating products, right? Like you say, if you might find it hard as a junior to get into a role as a professional software or data engineer, but the opportunities to create products are massive, aren't they?
We got a question on the feed from Triath.
Oh yeah. Oh, former guest. Tirith.
Welcome.
So let me put it up on screen. Hey, Ben and panelists, really interesting conversation. I have a question. What are your thoughts on how AI impacts offshoring? Great question.
It's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. My take on that is it's definitely putting pressure on the kind of work you would offshore. If you mentally you're like, we don't care so much about the, we don't care so much about like having that here and like talking about the design. We've specified it. We've got enough specification so I can ship it offshore, which is a common thinking. I think at that point you're very much in danger because you've done so much specification work that we could probably feed that specification to an AI and get at least a first version out. So I think that's going to really shift that dynamic of spec-driven offshoring. I don't think it changes the value of offshoring partners. I work with an amazing offshoring partner at the moment, Everest Engineering. They're super great, and they pair program with me. It's like they're with me in the office. So I feel like for that kind of offshoring, where your peers, not hand over a document, it's still great. So I think it's going to kill some offshoring models though. What are your takes on that?
Good question. I mean, I've got a perspective on this. I agree. Offshoring options will remain. I think the offshoring businesses will use some of these technologies to reduce some of their cost and maybe also, in some ways improve the experience that they offer so that you might find leaner, smaller offshoring businesses. And then the other factor is I think enterprises that have typically outsourced work, even if they struggle to adopt AI, they'll be adopting it through their outsources. So I think those are that'll be just a subtle thing that plays out. Which means big shake-ups for the industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think, there's just a whole class of toil kind of based jobs that no matter whether they're in-house or offshore are just going to be rife for AI to actually take over and do. Which, so I think everybody's got to move with some of these ideas.
We have another question from Luke McManus.
Welcome, Luke. Good to have you on.
So he says, what do we do with things like app modernization and technical debt, etc.? Can AI help us?
Yeah, well, I think that's a very interesting question. I haven't given a proper run at this one yet myself. I'd love to hear your takes on if you've had a go. But so far, if I point a large language model like GPT-5 at bad code, I don't know if it quite sees the bad code the way we do. Like, it seems like it has a weakness in my mind for code quality, and I haven't quite bottomed this down yet. Like, it's quite good at generating code, and if I specify what I want, it generates good code. But does it have taste? Ooh, I'm not sure.
It's its lack of olfactory senses, I think.
It can't
we always talk
smell
about
the
good
code.
smells.
Yes. No ability to smell the code. Yeah. So the jury's out for me. I think when it works, it'll be transformational because I could just literally iterate every file in a code base at the model and be like, do you spot anything you'd like to improve? And I think Claude Review would give you comments, but whether it would actually improve the code to be cleaner, neater, less duplication, I'd love to try that. I feel like that's a gap in my experience. What about either of you?
there's a chap I've been talking to who is he's been doing quite a lot of work in this space, and he actually built up just a set of complex rules that basically detected or evaluated the health of a service in the context of his company, and then it would score the service, continually check it and score it in each of the services, and then provide recommendations on what you'd need to do to actually get the score up higher. And he said he was, he's been having a lot of success with that. So I think those are, it's very similar to the techniques you were talking about before, Ben, just I think applied in a different way.
We actually have done that already.
Yeah.
We ran 2 agents to do security testing and hard-coded values testing. And so it would look through the whole code for security problems, and it would look for hard-coded values. And it came out with a full report, and then we implemented the fixes. So that felt doable, but that was a human implementing the fixes. I'd love to know if we could point the AI at the code and get it to make it better, if that makes sense. Like do the final step, like see the problem and improve it.
Yeah. No, I think this guy was actually doing both, but I think just building it up from a set of rules. But I think there's another step in there, which was, getting his organization to trust that the changes were actually, the governance around it, right, is the tricky thing.
Yeah, for sure. Great question, Luke.
Yeah.
Very good. I mean, my experiences have been similar. I've had some, advisory work where I will do the first pass, reviewing, code and things like that. But then if you ask some targeted questions about what you're looking for, you can do like a second sweep using the models, and I've had some really good results from that. I think another scenario is like in an emergency as well. So sometimes the speed of trying to identify where an issues are in an operational sense, the tools can be a really good augmentation of humans.
Yeah, cool. So I think we're probably getting towards the end of the show. So maybe we can try and recap some of the interesting ideas. Daniel, do you want to have a crack?
So I mean, the first big headline that stood out for me was that, career reinvigoration, shall we call it, where, and Ben's career, which has gone, from XP to Agile to OKRs to AI, I actually can see a direct through line there. But particularly knowing Ben well as I do, but it's the addition of the level of excitement and rejuvenation that has come with these tools, and I've experienced it as well. I was doing a little bit of occasional coding when my wife needed it for her research, and now every time I've got an hour or so free, I can go and build something. I was building something last night. I was building something a few nights ago. So that was the key headline for me. What about you, Gareth? What were some of your takeaways?
I love that side of it as well. And I think we've had actually in our course, we've had some great feedback from leaders who are now experiencing that joy. So it's pretty cool. I think just that progression from that incredibly fast prototyping through to then actually just getting it into production, but in a way that would have been really hard before. Like you write it in one language with some technologies, and now you've got to do a whole bunch of things completely differently to meet the governance of the organization. Now you can do that. I think that's pretty cool. So it really does kind of open up the possibilities for the front end of the product lifecycle and how you actually get that all the way through to value. So that really resonated with me.
Yeah, thanks both. It was really great to.
There was also. Sorry, Ben. Just one other thread was around the evaluation of the performance of the models within your platform as well was a key standout for me.
Yeah, I'm actually really proud of the evals work I've done. I learned a bunch about evals from a course running in Maven over in the US, which I haven't been able to attend live, but I've been reading all the recorded courses by Hamill and Schreier. They're really great. The theoretical foundations for evaluations are really interesting, but what's more fun is building your own little eval tool into your product that works for your users, that displays the information they need. And that's been a real unlock for me. So what they call error analysis phase has been so fun and so good to get into. And I look forward to showing people the evals platform. So if anyone's out there about to go into production with their AI stuff, come hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to show you what we built.
Why are some people saying evals at ed? I also see a lot of activity around evals and find them useful myself.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, right? It's like it's obviously victim of its own success. People have been talking about evals for the last 6 months, and a lot. Vendors are selling new products. There's venture capital. There's lots of riding on this idea that we all have to do evals, and there's also the reality that in a lot of cases, if you're prototyping or you're going fast, you are vibe evaling, where you just look at it and you're like, looks good to me, and that's it. So I think it's a spectrum, a bit like who does test-driven development, who does any unit testing. Think of it that way. I think we've got the people out there who are saying pair programming. I would never do pair programming. It's similar. We've got the same group of people saying I would never do evals, right? It's a very similar kind of reaction. Like, no, we're not going to do extreme programming. Quality practices, yuck. No, we are cowboys and we're going to ship code, and that is how work is done. And
it's a great analogy.
And there's truth at both ends of that spectrum. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And you're always going to have debates. That's been the same way.
It's becoming very silly, the debate, like semantics. Like, we don't do evals. We just look at the data and see if it was right. Okay.
the big swing back and forth with RAG as well is another similar one, So it was like, it's all RAG now. It's none of it's RAG.
RAG is dead. No, it's actually hang on. Yeah, so true.
Very cool. So Ben, what would you like the viewers to know about? I guess there's Freshwater Futures.
Yes, yeah. So we do everything from education to prototyping to implementation, and obviously the evaluation piece is something we're doing a lot of. So we work with financial services, large corps. We do executive education keynotes. Yeah, I did my first keynote a year ago. That was exciting, and I got run through executive education programs across one of the largest retailers in Australia, big website in Australia, going through every team and every function, and working with their exec and the direct reports to try to, what is Gen AI? And what I learned from that is some people want the intro, and other people, they're sick of hearing about the intro stuff. What they want is implementation. Tell me how to go faster. We just want, we want value. Stop telling me how great Gen AI is. Tell me how to get it in to production. And so every executive was at a different point in the journey. And so we've become relatively adept at meeting execs and their teams where they are from an education point of view. And then obviously that has led to some projects which are build the strategy, do the prototype, then put it into production, which is a really great journey for us to help people make their ideas real.
Fantastic. And if people wanted to get in contact with you more directly, there's your LinkedIn. So you hinted about a few things coming out the pipe pretty soon. So if people wanted to...
Yeah, we're totally in super secret stealth about our agent platform. We haven't released it, but it will go public. So if you want an early access to that because you are in a similar situation as this kind of enterprise client, where having a private, evaluated, safe technology option is good for you, then DM me on LinkedIn and we'll chat. That'd be great.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ben. Really great to talk to you, and thanks for sharing.
Cool. It's great chat.
Thanks, everyone. And by the way, we need a few more subscribers on the actual YouTube page. So there it is. So we'll catch you either there or on LinkedIn. Until next time, see you later.